I have met him actually, and he's a class act. He's a very cool dude.
See, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. Not to flex or anything, but
But I asked him for some money and he said no.
yeah. Oh, speaking of, should we talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
the Twitch drama?
Yeah. Let's do it. Slinky Rick or whatever his name is.
It's Slicker, I think. Yeah.
Slickle Rick.
Slinky Rick. Pickle Rick.
It's Slickle Rick, guys. Not so slick after all.
He turned himself into a scammer. This is actually like a quite sad story, I think. But there's also interesting takes that are. Let me write this down.
Honestly, it's the stuff around him that I find the most interesting. I think.
So for context, there is a streamer on Twitch named It's Slicker. He's been around for years, I believe. As played various games, etc. Recently has come under fire as it has been revealed that there is a extremely large amount of instances of him asking fellow streamers and fans for money via trust scams like, hey, my bank account is locked. Can you please help me out? I just need to get a minimum balance so that I can use my funds. I'll pay you back in a few months. That type of scam at scale. He's scammed everybody from the moderators of his Twitch channel to some of the largest streamers on the platform.
The Usain Bolt of this behavior, the goat of I'm sorry, I'm just checking the stats again because I almost couldn't believe them. I think Trainwreck alone gave him like $100,000.
Yeah, Trainwrecks gave him $100,000 to, I think, pay people back. And he gambled. So what he did with the money is that he gambled it. So I think that Ludwig said that there's a CoffeeZilla video coming out where he's going to tabulate everything, but the number is close to $300,000, where he has just gambled it all away in attempt to pay people back. And every time that he would get a balance of zero, he would go to another person and try to get some more money that he could hopefully gamble and win big so that he could pay everyone back.
And he had already, prior to making these requests and requesting and soliciting people to get that money, he had already just gambled away all of his Twitch earnings to date.
Yeah, which is, it's a sad story. The people who are scammed, it's a horrible thing because you're abusing someone's trust, you're abusing friendships and relationships. At least one streamer gave him $27,000 other than Trainwrecks, because Trainwrecks, you assume he's got it like that because he's gambling millions of dollars all the time. But to scam fans, and it's just wild.
Mm-hmm.
And the moral of the story is how dangerous of an addiction gambling is. Gambling being so famously a vice, so famously a very horrible vice, but also so profitable that it can afford to buy off some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, a la Drake.
I'll just throw out,
yeah, please.
The moral of the story, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little more, should be a treatise on how dangerous a vice gambling is. So dangerous so that it is banned in places, right? Kids
can't do it. It's banned in many, many countries. It's extremely regulated in the United States.
It's more regulated than opiates.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But anyway, I know we'll touch on it, but there are kind of a shocking number of takes that are not gambling is dangerous. It's just, this is a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
Only. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, absolutely. I think that making things good, I believe that, I don't know what the resolution on this is, but I know XQC propositioned Trainwrecks that they could go 50-50 on paying everyone back. So that was a big thing. And a lot of people are talking about the dangers of gambling. I've seen some takes that are we're letting this guy off the hook for being a scammer. He scammed X, Y, and Z person. And by focusing on gambling as an umbrella, we're not holding the individual accountable for his individual actions. Tons of people gamble all the time, and and they don't take things to this extent. And I wanted to talk about that because I've seen takes that say that it's enabling him to pay back his debts and having him not face the ultimate consequences of it. And I'm like, what do you mean the ultimate consequences? Because there are stats that say a quarter of people with gambling addictions, commit self-delete,
Mm-hmm.
I do know that this type of addiction can ruin lives. And I have a personal experience with it, with someone in my family. And so I think that I think he's being held plenty accountable because we're talking about the largest Twitch scam of all time, and it's going to severely impact his relationships and career moving forward.
I mean, the truth is that people don't actually want people that are saying, because what is it that you do want to happen then? Is it that you think what would be more just is if he pays everyone back?
Because
he can't do that.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. So what you're saying is you would rather the people who, in some case, I don't know how many people were like left destitute, but certainly the fans and the like need that money.
Yeah.
That is important.
It was a lend. It wasn't like a give. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They intended to see it again.
I'd rather all of those people never, ever get their money back on the principle.
Yeah.
And I mean, truly,
of teaching him a lesson. Yeah.
Of getting their little bit of catharsis. That's what they want, right? They love Crime and Punishment. They love a good story. They want to see, like, the death penalty shouldn't exist unless I really hate someone. It's the exact kind of mindset that just throws all principle out the window the moment that the person commenting on it is upset.
I agree with that. I think the thing, and let me know if this is a bad analogy, but it seems kind of like if someone was like scrape, like a light injury, let's say, I don't want to make this too bloody, but like imagine that like 10 people were like scraped by by Wolverine, and they're like, ow, he
loves doing that.
They're like, Wolverine like cut me, ouchies. And a court of law would say, hey, Wolverine needs to pay these people back. But in the meantime, are we not supposed to tend to the people who are harmed, the victims? Like,
he has to stitch. They actually have to keep bleeding unless he stitches them up.
Yeah, that's what doesn't make any sense to me. Because clearly, I think that this person should be treated like again, I don't know what consequences they should face. They should probably be banned from Twitch. They should, I don't know if there's any sort of criminal like case that's going to come out of this, but at the end of the day, people were harmed. And it seems kind of weird to say that, you shouldn't try to make those people whole, especially when some of those people are like less fortunate and we're just trying to do a good deed. And we're, told lies about someone's family being in the hospital or something, some sort of extreme cases. So it just,
And this is not a Ponzi scheme or an MLM scheme where we're letting someone off so that they can go ride away on their yacht. He is broke.
Mm-hmm.
He lost. And that's where, like, I think when you look at the way that people internalize addiction and that kind of, destructive othering and draconian approach to punishment and the cases when that tends to happen the most, it's always with addictions that people can relate to the most. It is always with things that they think they have the willpower to have gotten out of.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I've never tried to do crack.
Yeah.
So, like, I can relate to not doing crack. It's so easy. Why has that been difficult for you? Or, commonly, who is the most hated of all addicts? It's alcoholics.
Yeah,
across the board. And that's because most people drink. Most people drink alcohol and don't get addicted to alcohol. And so the thing that goes through their brain is, well, I could just stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, do that. Stop being, like, selfish and just choosing to drink.
Yeah.
If you are doing, if you're exhibiting a behavior that's, like, leaving you destitute, miserable, alone, in many cases, with nowhere to live, it's not something you enjoy.
Right.
That's not fun. It's like when you walk past somebody on the street and an unhoused person, and you hear someone say like, "Oh, just lazy. Try getting a job." Hey, being homeless is worse than not having a job.
Yeah.
I don't love having to do work, but I like it a lot more than being unhoused.
Yeah. Exactly.
Clearly, there's a third thing getting in the way there that we're like not accounting for, right?
Right. Exactly. And
in this case, yeah, what is the satisfaction you want exactly, other than the people being paid back? And I don't know, they treat it almost like karmically.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't atoned, he hasn't done the whipping on his back and said the Hail Marys. And
right. Yeah, and I just don't think that's kind of a separate issue to, like, in the meantime,
yeah,
there's people over here who are victims. And
and then I guess he can pay XQC and Trainwrecks back then.
Yeah,
like, what
exactly.
Difference, what difference does it make?
Yeah, exactly. So it spurred this dialogue on Twitch to kind of get Twitch to ban gambling on the platform, which is interesting because I'm curious to see what Twitch does. There are a lot of cynical takes that say Twitch won't do anything because there's too much money to gain from these types of deals. But I don't know. I think that this is a great example of protest, or at least calling to action, calling a company to account for a lapse in their judgment when it comes to guidelines, and highlighting the real risks that come with that. Because I do understand some people are like, well, why ruin people who can enjoy gambling responsibly just because of someone's actions? But it just feels like, given a large enough sample size, would you want to be enabling of people becoming addicted to... I don't agree with the comparisons to alcohol when it comes to, like, the slippery slope, because alcohol is regulated in America. Like, there is but the fact of the matter is that a lot of the gambling that happens on Twitch is in this gray area where, it's websites that, like, young kids could sign up for, where they don't check your ID until you're trying to pull money out of them, or they're not based in the US, and so they're not regulated the same way that they would be if it was like somebody live streaming from, like, a Vegas casino.
I think it would be wise to do something, because this is not the first, nor will it be the last time that gambling has been a big controversy associated with their platform.
Right.
I think now I am not an advocate for banning hot tub streams, to be clear, but I think if hot tub streams kept coming back into the news cycle, they would ban hot tub streams. But because it only happened the once, and they just weathered that storm, they now no longer have to engage with that.
Yeah.
This is like... It's like clockwork, the number of time we get some story of somebody manipulating, albeit this is like different from CSGO dramas, for example.
Right.
Because that was specifically, that is more like a Ponzi scheme. That's stealing, right? Did you hear Slicker talk about
how he started
gateway?
CSGO. And that's something CSGO. That I actually, so I have to go in 5 minutes. I have a meeting. But one thing that I wanted to maybe end on is a friend of mine and friend of the show, 24 Frames of Nick, posted about his own experience with gambling, to which he was, I think a lot of people go, oh, well, the people who are streaming gambling, they're all saying don't gamble. But it kind of feels like reverse psychology a little bit. But also a more concrete example of this is Nick, who very bravely shared his own story with addiction, I did kind of want to read. So he posted a twit longer on Twitter called My Gambling Addiction. He said, seeing everyone recently talk about the ills of gambling, I feel it's best I present my own issue and personal struggle with gambling. I discovered online gambling on last year in May from Twitch streamers that I'm still a massive fan of and still watch every day. Last year, I was doing very well. My YouTube was paying me very well for my size, and I made a lot of great investments. I had $20,000 in my bank account and nearly $40,000 invested. But then I discovered online gambling. I started small and won big. I won $40,000. This was amazing to me, and I thought it was nearly too good to be true. That same day, I lost it. I lost it very, very fast. And then I pulled more money out of my bank account to chase that loss until my bank account itself reached zero. Then I started to touch my investments, losing all of it in the span of 3 days. And for the next year, up until recently, I nearly ruined my life. Every single cent I earned from YouTube, I put right back into gambling. Every sponsor and AdSense and everything I used to gamble and chase my losses. I then applied for credit cards, multiple. And at this current time of my life, they're maxed out, leaving me with over $50,000 in debt. In just 1 year alone, I gambled around $250,000. I only just now stopped online gambling because I deleted the account that I used on the site. I'm in a fortunate position. I make good money when I work hard and I enjoy what I do very much. But even someone in my fortunate position pushed their addiction to the point where it almost became impossible to live. My account would be negative thousands of dollars each month in order to sustain my gambling desire. I would withdraw money I didn't have, and any money I was making barely mattered because I would lose it the second I earned it by putting all of it into a very easily accessible website. It hurt the relationships around me, with my friends and my family, and put me into a massive depression. Currently, I am still in debt and one day see a future where I can work hard to better myself and pull myself out of it. But many people will not be able to. Many people will do this very thing to themselves, no matter what position they're in. Whether they are fortunate or not, they will ruin their lives and go into debt all because of a website that is a click away. I just want to say that the streamers who showed me the site, I still watch their gambling and have even tried interacting with them about it because my addiction just wanted to justify itself like it was some fun, cool thing because I was someone who was making good money to afford it. But I can't anymore. I ruined myself and many people will continue to ruin themselves just like me. I never get personal about my own life or anything, but I just wanted to share that even given people like me who have become fortunate can end up in a cycle of gambling without any sense of an end in sight. I do not blame the streamers for my own adult mistake, but I strongly encourage anyone who knows of the site's existence to never touch it or delete any account they might have. Gambling is a plague, and I hope anyone currently struggling with an addiction like mine stops immediately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to share that because it, you know, the only victim other than like Nick's loved ones, the only financial victim is himself, but still like he very well illustrates the pipeline of deepening and deepening yourself in, I can just win it back. I can just win back big and everything will be fine.
And making good money, but then like, well, it doesn't matter if you just spend the extra money that you're also making.
Right.
That's a really, I mean, it's insightful. I appreciate that.
Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl. How's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, all you want it. Girl, too rich for me.